Hi, I'm Jake Cadwell with Cross Country Mortgage, and you are tuning in to episode 9 of the Veteran Owned Small Business Series, where each week we highlight a local business and discuss their journey from where they started to where they are today. And today we have Stewart Simmons with his upcoming project, VA Navigators. You can reach out to Stu on Facebook or LinkedIn if you need to contact after you hear our discussion. But welcome, Stu. Glad to have you.
Jake, thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. It's kind of a funny story how we met. But I just say that Stu's a vet on a mission to help other veterans. And he did that, in fact, when he was trying to help me. So I'm personally trying to go through the VA for a disability claim, and it's a long, arduous process. And so they sent me to a medical appointment for an x-ray. But in fact, they sent me to an office with no medical staff, nothing at all. And so I asked the front desk person, hey, am I in the right place? They say, well, there's someone with that we know that kind of does some stuff with the VA or knows of it. And I was like, oh, well, that's not it. So I start to leave the building, and Stu, the courteous guy that he is, comes out, hunts me down, and asks me what I was looking for. And I just thought that was so cool. So I had to bring you on. So thanks once again, Stu.
Yeah, absolutely. So my passion is helping vets, right? Giving back. I did 20 years in the Navy myself. And when I heard, the front desk called me and they said, hey, someone's here for disability claims. And I'm like, well, I've helped close to 800 vets with their claims. I don't think he knows who I am, but I probably might know somebody who knows somebody, right? So I figured I'd chase you down, and here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, it was meant to be, but we're here to hear your story today, Stu. So, what was your kind of beginning life like? Where are you from? What was life growing up before you joined the military?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My dad was remarried when I was a teenager, so my siblings are obviously much younger than me, which obviously makes me the cool one in the group.
Obviously.
But grew up in a small town in Vermont, did a lot of hunting and fishing, real quiet upbringing. And then, I move out when I'm about 18, and I'm going to school, and I'm working, I'm living, and I'm like, I want to go to college. And one of my friends suggested, hey, why don't you look at the reserves? And then I end up going to talk to the reserve gentleman, and there I end up in the Navy 3 months later. I joined the Navy 1997, left for boot camp, went out from under my big rock that I lived under into the cold, cruel world, if you will.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best things I think that ever happened to me. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Had an enjoyable career, and met a amazing woman when I was stationed in San Diego. We ended up getting married. That was almost 19 years ago. We have a 16-year-old son. She put up with all my shenanigans, all the travels, and now we live here in northern Colorado.
Awesome. Yes, it definitely takes a strong partner to stay with you, especially someone who retired in the Navy, to be able to, hold everything down on the home front and to be that extra support that you need while you're away too. So that's really good that you have that. But you mentioned your military service. You were in the Navy. You retired out of the Navy, but I thought it was really cool when we first started talking. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did in the Navy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined the Navy, really not sure what I wanted out of life. I didn't know. So I joined. Electronics was kind of my skill set. So I went into aviation electronics. I went to a school in Pensacola. And then when I finished that, they said, hey, who wants to go to be basically an MP? So I went to the MA school, Master at Arms School, graduated out of San Antonio. And then for about 3 years, I was a base police officer at a couple bases, and still didn't know what I was going to do when I grew up, right? Just kind of doing the thing. And the military is a great place if you're performance based, which I was, but I still didn't have that idea of what's next. So one of my friends, he had this passion for the SWCC program, Special Warfare Combat Crewmen, high-speed jet boats. They insert and extract different special operations. Plus, they have a whole subset of maritime special operation missions. So he asked me to go with him to do the physical. And I was like, well, I got nothing else to do. We were workout buddies back then. So we went and did the physical. I actually barely passed, and he didn't. So I got done, and I was like, well, let's just go. And he's like, no, just sign up, bro. I'll get in next time. And I signed up and joined, special operations, went through selection there in Coronado. And then I became a SWCC in the Navy, and I did that for about 17 and a half years. I don't know, a dozen different countries, two combat tours, and got to meet sitting presidents. Got to hang up on the Secretary of Defense accidentally. Still dodged that bullet, but I had a good time. I had a good run. I got to go.
Yeah. So. Well, that's awesome. I mean, you did a bunch of amazing things, saw the world. So, when it came to retirement, was it hard for you to get out, or were you kind of ready at that point? What was your feeling there?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this is something I really enjoy talking about. So I'm toward the end of my career. I'm not going overseas in combat zones so much, but I did mention I was in the intelligence world for the last portion. So I did a lot of traveling stateside. So I'm going out traveling about every 2 or 3 months. I'm gone for 3 weeks to a month, and I'm back, and then I'm gone, I'm back. And about 18 months before I was to retire, I still didn't have a plan. I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm just going 100 miles an hour. And my wife casually mentions, hey, we probably got to talk about what's next. And I was like, no, we got loads of time. She's like, yeah, we got about 18 months. Then I realized, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? Right. Because you get a paycheck every 2 weeks in the service. It's a pretty convenient it's a pretty convenient factor to have. So here I am now, coming up on retirement. Still didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a clue. And I attended this program. It's called the Honor Foundation. It's an executive transition program for special operators, SEALs, and SWCC in MARSOC. I went through that program. It's about 2.5 months, and met some amazing people at Microsoft, SpaceX, Apple, different organizations. And I realized HR, right? I like working with people. I don't like the legal side of HR. Let's just say that, right? Nobody likes that. Yeah. Those people that like it, they're a special group of people. We need them. We like you. We respect you. But that's not my passion. My passion is people. So I'm also a business major. I have an MBA from Liberty University, and understanding people and how they quantify into your organization. Where do you put them? And I was like, that would be a lot of fun. And I'm not getting shot at. That's great, right? Double bonus.
Yeah, that's a plus.
So I was kind of excited. I'm like, let's do this. And then we decided as a family to get out of California. We love California. The in-laws are there. It's a little pricey, in case you don't know. A little pricey. And we wanted to do something different we had never done. And my son was born and raised on the beach. My wife's a beach girl at heart, and she was willing to give it a shot. So we ended up settling on Fort Collins. We came out here, and I got a job right out of the gate working for an amazing company here locally, Fort Collins Heating and Air. I was their HR manager for about 18 months. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun, crazy learning experience. At the time, they had about 80 employees, I guess. We were growing pretty quick, coming off a 30% growth. So there's a lot of processes to put in place. And I realized that a lot of businesses don't have that skill set, right? So when you scale up an organization, whether it's a military organization, a business, your family, you got to have processes in place to catch that growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, it becomes messy. And if you're a business, you're dumping money down the drain because you might have people doing the same thing twice.
Yeah.
That's really what I found I love to do when it comes to the HR and executive level for business.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided in June of 2019, I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to be a business consultant, take some of my experience, help other business owners. And the whole time I've always wanted to make sure that I give back to veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So I end up meeting another veteran, former Air Force vet, and I started working with him and his organization. And there's this huge need to help veterans with their disability claims, which is how you and I, right?
Sure is. There's a lot of need for that.
There is. The VA is this faceless bureaucracy, and you just can't get an answer that makes sense. And I said, hey, that's my fight. Because I was pretty fortunate. I got hurt pretty bad in service. I've had multiple back surgeries. I'm actually 100% service-connected disabled veteran. So when I came out of service, for me, because of an explosion in 2005, all my records were kept really well. I just assumed all veterans had that kind of service. Apparently, that's not the case. So
not at all.
Became my new mission. Right? Vets are coming out of service. There's things that we need help with. And there was a time in my transition, Jake, and I'll be honest, I don't always tell you this, but I don't always tell people this, and I told my wife this, and I was like, listen, I would rather be back in Yemen than have to figure this out. I'd rather take my team back to Yemen for 2 weeks, bobbing and weaving, right? Constant gunfire, than having to figure out this transition. The military is great at getting you in, right? You walk down the line, you get all your shots in the arm, right? Here's your work. But when you retire, good luck, and we'll catch you on the flip side. And that's kind of what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Honor Foundation, that was the program that helped me kind of figure out what I'm going to do now that I'm actually a big boy. Right?
Yeah.
How do I take my skill sets and quantify them? But my passion and purpose, though, it's helping vets. I love helping vets. I own businesses. I'm a part of a couple of vet groups on Facebook where I just kind of offer advice. I'll set up phone calls with guys or gals that have questions. And I still love helping vets with their disability claims. I've probably helped about 800 men and women with their claims because, again, that VA disability process is a faceless bureaucracy. It's like a stone wall sometimes. So
absolutely.
For a long story longer, that's how I got here today.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even the disability side. It's a lot of the benefit programs. In my world, it's a VA home loan where the steps aren't always laid out how they have to be. And my own personal experience is, hey, I need to reach out to the VA to get something from them to give to the VA. And it's that bureaucracy that hurts so many veterans that don't deserve it. If anything, they deserve the royal treatment. So I commend you on that. I think it's really cool. And that's kind of what I'm trying to bring to the forefront, help with this series as well. But all that experience, that kind of took you to get going VA Navigators. And so can you kind of just give us a brief description of how you would describe VA Navigators?
Absolutely. So we are a group of veterans. All of us are service-connected disabled vets. So we get the disability side. All of us transitioned out of service. So we get it. We get the confusion, right? When you're getting out, all of a sudden you get a phone call and DFAS is telling you, oh, listen, we're going to hold your money for 2 months. We forgot to tell you. We're just doing an audit, right? So all those little things, like we know that. So there's a group of us, about 9 of us, and we just want to become a network for vets. So one thing I discovered in the past 18 months, especially with this COVID crisis, this pandemic that's just ravaging everybody, there's vets that don't have a person to talk to. There's guys and gals who are stuck in their house right now. They're a little older maybe. They have technology, but they don't have a place to go. So I was hosting daily sessions on Zoom where we get a group of vets together. Hey, what's going on? Where are you at? What do you need to talk about today? And we would talk about disability benefits. We talk about, hey, now that you're retired, Have you ever thought of this? So with VA Navigators, what we want to do is kind of be like an anchor point or maybe a true north arrow and just help vets. Hey, let's come to this place. There's actual resources. There's a virtual network. We're going to do quarterly meetups where we go to vet friendly cities and meet up with vets. Hey, how you doing? Do you know the resources in your area? And just be that one central spot for guys and gals who just need a place to talk to, because I think, Jake as well, the lifestyle that we lived, it's a part of who we are today, but we've had to put a lot of it down. But it can be difficult to share some of that stuff with people who aren't familiar with the veteran experience. So having that tangible network, that virtual network, even where you can get on casually, hang out, what's going on? Listen, this is what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with money. Awesome. Well, I have a friend who runs a program out of Florida with Dave Ramsey, and they help vets, especially vets who need help with medical bills. They offer that service. Like, we want to offer actual resources, a little more than the standard web link, but we want to offer you vets who've been there, done that, and you can have a place to come and connect.
Yes, resources are so important. If any vets try to navigate through the VA to try to get any paperwork or any resources, it's just a hodgepodge of junk junk websites that are hard to, they don't link together. It's hard to get everything. So resources are really important, and there's so many things out there. In fact, I was talking with my guest last week after the interview, and they know someone that it's a veteran program where they'll cover your fitness expenses, just little things like that where
I need his number. I should write that.
Yeah, I'll get you connected. It's so needed, and the virtual and the tangible experience. Virtual is great during all this, but there's nothing better than actually, sitting down with someone, having a face-to-face conversation, and it just seems more genuine and more real, and I'd say better at comforting through all that too. So
and just a little backstory. Let's do a little exercise here, and for the guests that are watching later, give yourself 10 seconds. How many veteran nonprofits can you think of off the top of your head right now? Just give yourself a few seconds. Give me a number.
Couple.
I know, I'm putting you on the bus. I'm sorry. I'm putting you on the bus. There's 15,000 nonprofit organizations in the United States that help veterans. 15.
Wow.
I can maybe name 5, right?
But
I know somebody who knows all 15,000, and he's putting them in a database, and he's building it into an app so vets can figure out, hey, I'm service connected. I'm this branch of service. This was my MOS. This is my rating. Hey, here's all these organizations that can help me. So VA Navigators, we want to be that resource that, first off, with empathy, we get it. It's not always easy doing this, right? But we want to be ethical, all right? We're not here to take your money. We know that there's a need that needs to be filled. For those of us who came out maybe a little more better positioned, we just want to give back, right? And another area, I mentioned this to you before, and I'm going to touch on it now, but veterans and mental health, right? There's a lot of stigmas with that. And if the only information you've ever gotten about veterans and mental health comes from mainstream media in Hollywood, you're probably totally off base with how you think about veterans and mental health and the stigmas. And that's one thing that all of us are good about. All of us at VA Navigators, we're intimately familiar with mental health, how it impacts us, whether it's a traumatic event in service, you're wrestling with chronic pain after service, it has a negative impact on you. And this is the place to come to talk about that. And hey, what resources are out there? We're going to help you with that.
That is awesome. And just to highlight, ethical, because, the people with VA Navigators have service related disability. So they have been in your shoes and they're going to take the best care of you. So I think that's great that you are doing that. Now, you have a history of, the service, HR, consulting. What would you say, or how has the military helped your success? What traits, what things have been instilled from the military to help you?
Yeah, that's good. So I thought a little bit about that because I was asked this before, and I think the one thing the military taught me that helped me be successful is learning how to delegate. Now, I don't mean hand off your work. I'm not saying that. Stay in your lane, right? If you're
Yeah.
good at this thing, if you're good at thing A, don't try doing thing B then. Find somebody else who can. Like if you own a business, stick with what you're good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not good with the admin side of business, the business operations. You need to hire somebody who is. Stick with what you're good at. If you're the face of your organization, don't get stuck in the back room counting inventory. Pay somebody to do that, right? That's what I mean by delegation. I don't mean, the rank and structure. I don't run my company like that, right?
Yeah.
But I have an assistant who works remotely, and she's the admin guru, right? I know I'm not, so I'll say, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? She'll be like, that's a horrible idea. What were you thinking? I'm like, cool, rudder correction, got it. Let's do this then,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
know your role when it comes to business. That's one thing that the service helped me with because, going through service, you have a job. You probably never did it, right? None of us did. We always had like 10 other jobs to go with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we got to a point in our career, no matter how long you were in for, you knew what you were good at and you knew what you weren't. And typically, when you bring those people on board who are good at something you're not, you can build a pretty effective team.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're just going to enjoy life so much more, if, for me, for example, so on the back end of the loan, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of all that stuff, but the upfront, talking to clients, crunching numbers, like I love that. But if I'm to focus all my time on that back end, I'm losing business. I'm not, I could be spending other time, meeting people, meeting clients, meeting referral partners. So I totally get that. Delegate. That's a really good one. Now, you have started your history of consulting and VA Navigators. But say there's a vet out there that is looking to take the leap, start their own business. What advice do you think that you could give to them?
Okay, so this is not a Stu Simons fact. Like I said, I was a business major. Risk analysis, risk management is a big part of business degrees. Statistically, as veterans, we tend to be either really low risk takers or really high risk takers. You got to know as a veteran where you stand. If you know that you're a low risk taker, that's okay. Self-aware is half the success. Then you have to be willing, though, to know when to push the envelope. Listen, It's a risk starting a business, okay? It's a risk. And if you're not familiar with things like the SWOT analysis, right? How do you figure out if my business is even going to work? Is this a business model that's viable? You need to ask somebody. And if you know you're one of those veterans who is overly risky, okay, there's a time and a place for both. If you're in a niche market and timing's everything, maybe a little more risk is in order. If you have a lot of assets to support you, maybe a little more risk is in order. So I think that's a big part. If you're starting a business, see where you fall on that risk scale, right?
Yes.
You know what it is. If I do this,
and
start feeling anxiety and anxiousness, hey, that's not a bad thing. You just got to be aware because it might impact your ability to grow that business.
Yes, self-awareness, absolutely. Knowing who you are and what you're capable of, as a veteran, and potentially having a family, you don't want to put other people at risk. You don't want to put yourself at risk. So knowing what you're capable of and, being confident, don't underestimate yourself, but, being realistic is a good trait as well. So I completely agree with that too. So Stu, is there anything else that you want to add about VA Navigators or anything that you want to let the people know before we hop off here?
Listen, we're putting together this website. We're hoping to get it up and running in a couple of weeks. This has been a project. I do weekly meetings with the team. We're putting all these ideas together, and I'm looking forward to having this up and running. And I'll send you the link when it is, Jake, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we just want you to know that, if this is the first time you heard it, awesome. But you're not the only one going through what you're going through. All right. Mm-hmm. You're not the only one that's had a sleepless night or two. You're not the only one that's sat there scratching your head, wondering why, the VA is giving me medical service for something that happened in service, but I'm running up into a stone wall trying to get compensation for it because I know it happened in service. We've all been there. Mm-hmm. There's a group of us that have been there, and we actually do care. We actually like helping vets. So our goal, our mission statement, if you will, is helping veterans with ethics, with empathy, ethics, and integrity, navigating what's next. Because there is a what's next. Because we are veterans, we're not quitters. We're going to keep at it. Whether we're an entrepreneur or whether we like working for a company, doesn't matter. We're still going to keep at it, though, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to be here for you. So
that's cool. I can't wait for that website to come out. We'll obviously blast that out everywhere, get that out to all of our vets. And you're right. There's, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people that need the help. I mean, as we talked about multiple times, there's not a lot of resources out there. So I just want to thank you once again, Stewart Simmons. You can find him on Facebook, LinkedIn, a great resource, retired out of the Navy, has an MBA, very smart guy, knows business, knows veterans. So he's definitely the resource for you. So thank you, Stu. I appreciate your time, and let's chat soon.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day and a good weekend.
Thanks, Stu.
All right.
Bye.